Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine and I have a tutorial to share with you today. We are using this book called Mansa Musa, Leader of Mali, as inspiration for today's project. We are in the middle of our West Africa main lesson block. We're doing this hands-on project using some clay, sand, and a few other materials. I'm going to walk you through this process. We really like the finished project and I am really excited to share it with you today. Okay, so we don't exactly know which mosque we are going to be making today. A few of these look pretty intricate, and so we're going to do something that's pretty simple, and I really like the way that it turns out. We're using some Aardvark Clay. This one is called Cafe Cinco, and I like the way that it dries. I think it's just the right color. We're also using dowels that are 1/8 of an inch in diameter, as well as some walnut stain. The last thing I have is some sand, and we're going to be mixing that with the clay a little bit later on. The first thing we're going to do is stain these wood dowels. Now, this is part of the structure of the mosque where the scaffolding is exposed. It's both a design feature as well as a practical feature. So I've got one done here, but we're going to need a lot more. So I'm going to just pull out about 10 of these or so, lay them down, and just stain them all at once so that they have enough time to dry while working on the rest of our project. We're not going to need them right away. So in the meantime, we are going to mix some clay and some sand, and we don't really know exactly how to do this. We are winging this all the way through. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out, and I think that this is a great project whether you are making a mosque or any other structure. The only thing is that this clay is not going to be fired, so it will shrink when it dries and it can cause some cracking and breaking, so it's probably not a long-term project that will hold up pretty well. So I've got a gesso board here so that we can have a flat surface to work on, and it's going to be where our mosque is permanently because it's such a fragile finished project. And since we're kind of guessing at how to do this and we really want to get that look where it looks like it's made from materials that you would find in West Africa, a mixture of sand and clay, we've added some sand into our clay, and I'm not sure that this gives it that same look at the end, but I do like that we're trying to be as authentic as possible. We also chose a clay that when it dries, we hope that it looks like the images that we found in the book. And I also had my son do just a little bit of clay and sand on the gesso board just so it looks like our finished mosque is out in the sandy desert. So we're adding in these dowels that we've trimmed down to maybe about 1 inch along the outside of the mosque, and this allows, well, actually it's a design feature, but also it allows the mosque to be repaired year after year by having that scaffolding out exposed. So it's easy to climb up on the exterior and fix whatever needs to be fixed because these are such natural materials that they are prone to getting weathered and needing some repair year after year. Okay, so we have a tall structure on the right and then kind of a courtyard on the left side. And we were kind of concerned that it might topple over because it was quite tall, but it ends up holding up really well. And once it's dried, it hasn't had any problems at all. However, when it did dry, there was some cracking, and I'm going to show you how we fixed that. First, we want to make a door, and we're going to stain some popsicle sticks. These are additional features that we're adding to the mosque because once it was done, we decided to add a few more things, and we're trying to cut down our popsicle sticks, and using a scissor does not work. And so we went ahead and we used a little handsaw for that. You can see some cracking here, and what I'm doing is soaking a little bit of the clay just so it's easier to use. You don't need to do this. It came very soft and easy to work with, and I'm just going to fill these areas. After about 2 days, when it was completely dry, that's when you could see a lot of the cracking come in. It does take several hours for it to dry completely, and you do want to make sure that you insert your dowels into the wet clay, otherwise it won't work. So we're going to glue our popsicle sticks together in order to make a door. I'm using some Gorilla Wood glue in order to do this. And then we used a little dowel in order to make the detail on the door. And I like these little additions that we do to our projects. We don't need very many of them in order to have that extra detail, that extra little personalization to the project. Okay, so once we get that door done, we're going to put it in place, but it's actually too tall, so we're going to need to let it dry completely and trim it down before we add it in place. This is the one thing that just didn't stay. We tried to add a little bit of clay, but it still just kept falling over in the end. But overall, I think that we had a very successful project. This is for my 13-year-old son and his main lesson block on West Africa. I highly encourage you to try a project like this. The only thing is that since it's not fired, it's prone to breakage and shrinkage and cracking. So do be careful. I would not put this outside because definitely water would start to erode over your project. All right, so if you would like to see some of our other West Africa projects, you can tap on the screen right now. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video with more information as well as more tutorials for this main lesson block. And if you'd like to see what our homeschool looks like on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.